I think I have the answer. I think I know how to solve all relationship problems between men and women and make sure that couples remain in love their whole life and they have a prosperous relationship. I think something happened that we didn't notice in the last 100 years or so. Something happened that we have not noticed. We complain a lot about the changes in incentives, legal structures, movements like feminism and the emancipation of women, and women complaining about men and the patriarchy. I think all of these things have actually been a distraction from the real problem that is just there right in front of us. There's this, it's like an elephant in the room that nobody even knows is there. Like, genuinely, it's not that they're avoiding talking about it. They just really, it's been there for so long, they don't even realize it's there. Has that ever happened to you where you're looking for an item in your house and it's been in one location for a long time, right in front of your face all the time? It's like your glasses, and it's like you can't find them because it's been there for so long that your consciousness has erased it, basically, has made it sort of part of the environment. Well, you know what that thing is when it comes to relationships? It doesn't really have a word, but it's essentially men and women spend way too much time together. Couples, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend. Just think about it. Evolution and the nature of relationships and monogamy has never taken into consideration the variable of man and wife being in close proximity to each other 24/7. I bet you that you will find a correlation. I don't think this has been studied, but I bet you will find a correlation in the longevity and success of relationships based entirely on how much time the couple spends apart. So, for example, a husband who is a really hardworking man, maybe flies out, does business trips, and is just constantly on the go, and sees his wife maybe a fraction of the time on a given week. You know, this is a very common standard sort of occurrence. At least it was several years ago when men were expected to provide. Now there's this whole 50-50 thing going on. But traditionally the man was out. Even before modernity, the man was out hunting, you know, or out fighting a war, or out fending off threats. The man was out. He was not in the house. Him and his wife, his woman, were rarely in contact with each other. And so this distance, this separation, I personally think, ironically, could be the glue that's missing. I'm certain of it. If someone were to study it, they would find a direct correlation between how long relationships lasted and how much time couples spent apart. Actually, we kind of know this to be true because I think divorce rates skyrocketed during COVID when everybody was forced to be together. Even in my own neighborhood, during the closures, when things were really extremely closed, I heard yelling and things that sounded like violence going on in some places where, like, I would walk by and I would see police cars pull over. So I don't think men and women actually should be spending a whole lot of time together. not the couples, the husband and wives, should not be spending so much time. We spend too much time together, I think, fundamentally. I wonder actually if there's also an increase in divorce rates or in marital problems after retirement sets in, if the couple has been able to survive that long. Although, you know, I've heard something that if you survive past 25 years of marriage, something happens, something clicks, and at that point it's kind of certain that you'll make it through to the end. I don't think anything is really clicking. I think it's just hormones subsiding and you both sort of becoming kind of these asexual human beings. Watch my previous video on monogamy and polygamy and polyamory to understand why I believe that is. So yeah, ironically, to keep men and women together, they need to spend more time apart. And unfortunately, in an age of remote work, more and more people just trying to come up with their own little side hustle and working from home. It's becoming increasingly the case that men and couples are spending more time, more contact time together. And I think it's a recipe for disaster. So, let me know what you think of that idea. Now, the challenge in this is that, what do you do? I mean, the days where the man was out working are becoming increasingly rare. Maybe the idea of living together should be something that's left in the past. Maybe marriage and living under the same house should not be considered synonymous. I don't know, that's a wild idea. I'm just trying to think of any way in which artificially we could reintroduce the distance that used to be there in the past. How can we reintroduce that distance that seems to be fundamental in order to keep the closeness? I think the reason this works is because, I mean, we've already known, there's that saying, distance makes the heart grow fonder, right? Or absence makes the heart grow fonder. I can't remember what the word is. It keeps the man and the woman a mystery to each other. You don't know each other too well. You don't see every little thing you do in every single minute of every single day. You still remain a little elusive to each other. There's still a little bit of a magic and mystery there that keeps that flame going. It works. It works for several reasonable and logical reasons. So, to keep men and women together till death do us part, we need to part a little more, make a little bit of space. I think we expect in the last relationships in the last 30 years, I think have made men and women expect too much of each other. I think we were better off when the man and the woman were off into their own domains, toiling and putting forth effort and struggle toward their duties and responsibilities toward the other person. The man was out there fighting the world, trying to bring about service to his own family, and the woman was doing her thing, whether it was taking care of the land and the animals and the children and toiling to bring about her service and her contribution toward the man. They were both essentially oriented, their action was oriented toward each other, but they weren't necessarily next to each other. And that's, I think, fundamentally the big elephant in the room that we haven't even seen because it's been so present that we've gotten used to it. And this might be fundamentally, you can throw all the other reasons out, all the other things that people have talked about and come up with out. Promiscuity, immorality, the failure of religion and people, political sides, and you just throw all that out and focus on this one thing, a little distance. Create a little distance. And you'll bring men and women together again. It's a hypothesis, but I do think it's important to orient, for the man and woman to orient their action, their activity, in service of the other, without necessarily have to be together doing it. And that way, when you come together, that spark and that magic and that desire is still there. It's a little hack, perhaps, but I think I'm onto something. And I bet if you studied it, you looked into the statistics and looked at couples that stayed together for their whole life, people that were married 50, 60 years, I bet you the man or the woman or something in their family dynamic made it so that they would very rarely see each other in a given week. Maybe they only saw each other weekends, right? But that might be enough to not see each other during the week because you're busy toiling and putting forth effort, and you only saw each other 2 days out of the week. That might be the right amount of time that couples should see each other. It would be fascinating to know, because there's a number there. There's a number we could find if we studied it. So, putting this out there into the world, maybe someone out there knows how to do this and can bestow upon us that wisdom. And then it's up to couples to figure out how to artificially create that space when their life circumstances don't provide that space. Now, in modernity, unfortunately, space and lack of supervision leads to other problems, like the man ending up raising children that come from another man. I used to go on walks. This is a totally random memory. I used to go on these daily walks, and I would see how the behaviors of different animals and nature would change over the course of the year. And I paid special attention to the ducks and their pair bonding and mating patterns. And when the male duck would find his match, his woman, wherever she would go, he would follow her. He would go everywhere, wherever she was. And it turns out this is a known thing because the duck is really invested in his offspring. He doesn't want her to go off or be impregnated by another male. So he has to keep his eyes on her at all times. So there's that argumentation as well. But unfortunately, if you want security in that sense, you're going to end up with some sort of chaos and frustration and combativeness. Well, that's my rant for the day. That's my elephant in the room. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.